Hey, You Can Heal family. Welcome back to another video. Today we are reading 1 Samuel 18, and the title of it is Jonathan Loves David. So I know everybody pretty much enjoyed chapter 17 because we all love the story of David and Goliath. So let's just keep going. My name's Shena Major, and we've been reading through the Old Testament, and we're gonna keep it moving. I'm at the park, and there's kind of like a basketball court to my left. So you might hear the noises. Just enjoy the noises of people being happy and having fun. Looks like it's a wheelchair league, so that's pretty neat too. All right, so here we go. Jonathan loves David. After David had finished talking with Saul, he met Jonathan, the king's son. There was an immediate bond of love between them, and they became the best of friends. I love that. From that day on, Saul kept David with him at the palace and wouldn't let him return home. And Jonathan made a special vow to David's friend, and he sealed the pact by giving him his robe, tunic, sword, bow, and belt. So he shared. And then it goes into Israel elevates David over Saul. Whatever Saul asked David to do, David did it successfully. So Saul made him a commander in his army, an appointment that was applauded by the fighting men and officers alike. But something happened when the victorious Israelite army was returning home after David had killed Goliath. Women came out from all over the towns along the way to celebrate and to cheer for King Saul, and they sang and danced for joy with tambourines and cymbals. This was their song. Saul has killed his thousands, and David his 10,000s. This made Saul very angry. What's this, he said. They credit David with 10,000s and me with only thousands? Next, they'll be making him their king. So from that time on, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. Now, you got to be careful, because if you're winning and people, you've been around people and now you're elevating yourself and you're doing well, some people will not like that. And it says here, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. So just kind of watch your back. Make sure you're, sharing your wins with people who really do love you and will be happy for you. Going on, the attempts of Saul to slay David by throwing a spear at David. It says here, verse 10, the very next day, in fact, a tormenting spirit from God overwhelmed Saul, and he began to rave like a madman. David began to play the harp, as he did whenever this happened. But Saul, who had a spear in his hand, suddenly hurled it at David, intending to pin him to the wall. But David jumped aside and escaped. This happened another time too, for Saul was afraid of him, and he was jealous because the Lord had left him and was now with David. Finally, Saul banned him from his presence and appointed him commander over only 1,000 men, but David faithfully led his troops into battle. David continued to succeed in everything he did, for the Lord was with him. Oh, that's good too. As you're moving forward, if God's with you, you're succeeding. Even if you're getting little bit done every day, you're succeeding because you have God on your side. And also, you have peace too with what you're doing. But all Israel and Judah loved David because he was so successful at leading his troops into battle. And then the next section is by tricking David to fight the Philistines. Verse 17, one day Saul said to David, I'm ready to give you my older daughter, Miriam, as your wife. Okay, but first you must prove yourself to be a real warrior by fighting the Lord's battles. For Saul thought to himself, I'll send him out against the Philistines and let them kill him, rather than doing it myself. See, he is plotting against David. Oh my gosh, setting him up for the okie doke. Who am I, and what is my family in Israel that I should be the king's son-in-law? David exclaimed. My father's family is nothing. So when the time came for the wedding, Saul gave Miriam in marriage to Adriel, a man from Meholah. In the meantime, Saul's daughter Michal had fallen in love with David. Oh, she wanted her a ruddy man. And Saul was delighted when he heard about it. Okay, here's another chance to see him king. Excuse me. Here's another chance to see him killed by the Philistines, Saul said to himself. But to David he said, I have a way for you to become my son-in-law after all. Then Saul told his men to say Oh my God, what am I reading? Then Saul told his men to say confidentially to David, the king really likes you, and so do we. Why don't you accept the king's offer and become his son-in-law? When Saul's men said these things to David, he replied, how can a poor man from a humble family afford the bride price for the daughter of a king? When Saul's men reported this back to the king, he told them, tell David that all I want for the bride price is 100 Philistine foreskins. Vengeance on my enemies is all I really want. But what Saul had in mind was that David would be killed in the fight. Oh, so see, this sounded really good, right? Oh, just get the foreskins of the Philistines, which is gross when you think about what that is, but he wasn't like trying to go easy on him and be nice. He was saying that so he could get killed. So verse 26, here goes David. David was delighted to accept the offer. So before the time limit expired, he and his men went out and killed 200 Philistines and presented all their foreskins to the king. So Saul gave Michal to David to be his wife. When the king realized how much the Lord was with David and how much Michal loved him, he became even more afraid of him, and he remained David's enemy for the rest of his life. Well, see, he chose that. He chose to be jelly. He chose to, try to set him up to get killed. And now, oh my goodness. Where am I? And now it says he remained David's enemy for the rest of his life. Whenever the Philistine army attacked, David was more successful against them than all the rest of Saul's officers. So David's name became very famous throughout the land. Wow, David had favor. David had favor, and ended up with the lady too, the wife. So that's interesting. I don't think I remember David having a wife. I just remember all the shenanigans that went on with him trying to get someone else's wife. So that makes it even worse. But anywho, you can heal family. That's the end of chapter 18. And we're going to keep going tomorrow. We'll look at 19. It looks like they're going to try to kill David. So, yikes. All right, that's that. I'll be back tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed the park with me. And it feels really good out here. I just did a 45-minute walk before I sat down to read. And that feels good. I got in some good steps today because I walked a little bit this morning with the daycare kids too. So all is well. All is well. I'm going to read a little more, and then I'm going to actually read the Jesus Calling, and then I'm going to go to the grocery store, which is not my favorite thing to do, if you want to know. All right, I'm out. Always remember, true healing begins with self-love. Why? Because God is love and He lives on the inside of you. We'll talk soon. Bye.